Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I am your returning host, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the hunter extraordinaire, the Jotun Toten, the Dead Man Tales shooting Josh Finney.
Hi.
Hi, Josh.
Corey, I'm so glad you're back. The Reign of Terror has officially come to an end.
I'm happy to be back, dude. I've been thinking about, so the first 2 weeks I was off, I was like, yeah, this is kind of nice. Got a little break. At the end of that 2 weeks, I was getting the itch, and it's been like 4 weeks now, and I'm like, I need to have some sort of like friendly adult interaction that's not like me and my wife talking about the kids or trying to talk over the kids, and I'm just like, oh man, Josh, it's my first show back. I'm very excited. How was hosting?
It was great. We had some great guest appearances from Nerd Generalist, from Colonel Panic, and from A1 Johnny to come in. We kept trying to fill that Titan spot. Nerd and I were holding auditions, and just nobody could quite replicate the magic. We went to the dollar store Titan. We went to the Target Titan. We eventually had to just come back around to IKEA, man. We didn't give anybody the Walmart Titan because that was just rude.
That is rude. It's very rude.
I don't know if that's rude or if dollar store is ruder, but
yeah, it's fine. Very good shows, though. I listened while I was away, and I gotta tell you, that person, the couple people who messaged me and said that Nerd Generalist made the show better, it was very rude. Not wrong, but you're rude. Don't like you. Go away. Omar, that's your name. Called you out. So, anyways, man, Josh, I gotta tell you, I played some Destiny, but this is during the last month, I played more games other than Destiny than I have, I think, in like the last year. it was
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I gotta tell you though,
get this poser out of here.
I gotta tell you though, I'm pretty obsessed with Outriders right now. And I know that you have mixed feelings and a complicated relationship with Outriders right now, but I played post-patch.
I have a complicated relationship with Outriders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dude, as soon as I started playing, I'm like, man, I know I'm not going to be on a show for like 2 weeks, but I need to talk about this game. Anybody want to talk about it? Anybody? No? Okay. But it's okay. I got some people at work to play it, and we've been talking about it, so I kind of got it out of the way. So.
I hate you. Dude, Outriders is like, it's weird because in so many ways it's the game Destiny wants to be, but thank God it's not.
It's weird.
Like, it's the most bland fucking color palette I think I've ever seen in a shooter.
It reminds me of Gears 1 and 2. Remember how brown and just kind of dark?
It's funny you say that because this is the studio that brought us Gears of War Judgment.
I know.
That's the last big game that they did.
That's not true. Bulletstorm was.
Okay, it's the last big game they made that we talk about. But the writing in fucking Outriders, you can absolutely tell this is the team that made Bulletstorm. After about 20 minutes, that was our friend Ray and I's takeaway.
Dude, look, this game is like a game that's pretty much, it feels like a game built for me where like, okay, it feels like Gears in a way. It's a cover-based shooter. I love Gears. I'm a big Gears fan. It's got loot in it. I love Destiny, obviously. It's got a story that you don't have to pay attention to, and you can just turn a podcast on while you're, shooting grotesque bugs and
God, ain't that the truth?
God, dude. I'm not real far, but I've been just playing about an hour a night the last week and a half. And that giant spider boss in the volcano is like, I fought it on World Tier 6 for like an hour last night, and I'm like...
Were you doing it solo?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, well, that's part of your problem.
I know. I'm not... I was like, I refuse to turn my World Tier down. It took me an hour and 12 minutes to beat the spider boss on World Tier 6, but I did it.
I will tell you right now, there is no shame in turning down your world tier because it really doesn't fucking matter.
I know it doesn't. It matters to me, man. It matters to me.
It mattered to me too. I refuse to budge and turn it down at all. Though I finally turned it down for a boss fight quite a bit past where you are. Quite a decent amount into the game. Definitely past the halfway point. Probably around the 2/3 point. That Nerd Generalist and I were just unable to do, even with him being at level 30 and me being at like 22.
Mm-hmm.
We were unable to do it, so we turned it down to World Tier 1. We went from World Tier 11 to World Tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
He one-shotted the boss with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't even get a shot off, and he just popped her.
That's funny.
It was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That's hilarious.
One shell did like 400k.
Wow.
It was absolutely gorgeous.
Wow. But the reason why I bring up Outriders, Josh, I've been playing it a lot, but the game has its fair share of problems, and I know that it has the inventory wipe issue going on.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell you, the one thing I love about Outriders is marking the gear that you want to dismantle and just holding Y down to dismantle all your marked gear.
I absolutely agree with that.
That's like the one thing I'm like, man, can Destiny please do something like this?
Please. Or let me, like, I don't know. I don't think they don't have an auto delete function. Mm-hmm. But like that's been brought up many a time in Bungie and Destiny chats that we sorely need that. Mm-hmm. And man, I have had my inventory fill up so many times in Outriders. Mm-hmm. So many times. And I just have to sit there and dismantle or go and like sell. I do wish the button input was a little bit quicker because sometimes I got to click it a few times for it to recognize that I want it selected.
Yeah,
I really hate that.
I've had to mentally go and like mentally change the way I like press buttons in games and be like, okay, hover over it, wait like half a second, and then press the button so it recognizes it. It's annoying. I do agree with that.
It's not great.
No.
But I've also hit way worse.
Yeah, this is like this game is like the perfect 7. It's fun. It's fun to mess around in, and I'm having a blast. And I don't know if I'm gonna finish it or whatnot, but like, it's fun right now, and that's during Guardian games, which are, in my opinion, not fun. This is a good way to spend that time. I'd rather be playing Outriders than playing through Guardian games.
So, okay. I don't hate Guardian games as much as I did last year. It's still not great, but it is leaps and bounds better than last year. I will say that.
I agree. I'm kind of over it.
The contender card bullshit is still it's some absolute bullshit. Like I thought it was going to be kind of fun, and to be fair, like I think it is, but it should not in any realm be easier for me to do a platinum card than it is for me to do a regular card.
Right.
Like, Colonel Panic and I were playing some Nightfalls earlier, and we're like, why would we ever do anything that isn't for platinum medals now? Like, that's what gives your class the most progress. That's what gives you the most progress towards bounties, towards the catalyst, everything else. Like, why on earth would I do it? We'll do it elsewhere. Mm-hmm. Like, I hate that one of the shaders for the event is locked behind. You have to do 45 bronze medals, which means 45 Crucible matches, regular strikes, or Gambit matches. And I don't hate myself enough to do that.
It's fair.
I really don't. And so I'm like, yeah, I hate this because I like earning all the physical rewards from an event like this, but I'm absolutely not doing it here.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't have enough time to do a lot of this. I started doing some of the seasonal challenges instead. And I actually...
that's honest. You're way better doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just want to get the Bright Dust and get some of the stuff that's in the store and that kind of thing before the season changes in a couple weeks. But I actually started a war... I played through the new light quest as a warlock. Dude, that new light quest sucks. I don't remember.
It's not good.
I don't remember if I talked about it before I went on break or not, but dude, I mean, I know you played through it, but I played through it now, and like, dude, it makes dude. We make fun of Shahan. There's even more of a reason for me to make fun of Shahan now. He's the worst. He's the worst. There's a mission where you literally have to save him, and it's like
it's bad.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm through that, and I'm playing through the campaigns again with my Warlock just to play as a Warlock. And Forsaken, let me tell you, Forsaken, minus like the beginning kind of bounty stuff that you have to do for Spider, is a great campaign.
I really like the campaigns. I just wish that there wasn't like as much fluff in some of them. Or that like certain missions were actually strikes. Like I think that's one of the things in Forsaken that I would complain about the most is I feel like some of the barons should have been strikes instead, especially the one where you have to go in. What is it? Trickster.
Yeah.
That makes the copies. That one, the one where you go to the Ascendant Plane, and then the Technomancer, the second to last one. I feel like there's an opportunity for like 3 or 4 of those to be made into strikes.
Yeah.
But this keeps going back to an issue that I raised with the vaulting of Vanilla D2, and that's that when you lose those campaigns, like new players are first off going to be confused, but I'm also really nostalgic and like to play through that stuff. And I don't know. I guess I just don't understand why this had to happen. Like I get their explanation, but you look at how massive a game like ESO is and has never had to pull anything out. Mm-hmm. Maybe give me the option if I want to keep these campaigns in or not. Mm-hmm. Like, let me delete the extra language packs. Like, from what I understand, like the language packs are actually like a lot of what takes up the space in the game. Right. And like the cutscenes, like give me an option to download those or get rid of them. Like, you're mm-hmm. concerned about file space, and I understand and respect that in a way, but I think taking out the Leviathan was more than enough. Like, that was there for a story reason. I get why the planets are gone for a story reason, but let me have those controlled instances for these strikes.
Right.
Because like strikes,
the Crucible maps are still there, right? The Crucible maps for those planets are still there. So I don't know. I think they made a bigger deal about it too, because you can clearly see there's a lot of reused assets. I mean, they reuse them in clever ways, but that should keep the file size down too, you know? Like the asset reuse.
You would think so.
But I don't know. I miss some of the older stuff that's gone. I'm not going to lie to you. But,
I do miss the campaigns. Mm-hmm. I missed going in like in D1 and doing daily stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's okay, because, Corey, we have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, speaking of old things that are coming back, Josh.
Speaking of old things that are coming back, Vault of Glass, baby.
Woo!
Vault of Glass, May 22nd, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah. Yeah.
The vault is open again, my friends.
It is. I'm excited, man. I'm like,
we're on Venus. There's no fuckery of us starting on Europa or starting on the moon.
I know, because we talked about this yesterday, I think. You
and I were literally talking about this last night.
Yeah, because we were talking about the splicers, and we were thinking, well, maybe the splicers are trying to get Vex Tech from the vault, and that's how we get in, because we got to stop the splicers. Nope. Going in on Venus, fighting Atheon. There's no, like, I mean, they're going to change some stuff up inside, obviously, a little bit, but, like, it's Vault. It's Vault. So
I've seen a lot of people complain about this already, going, oh my god, it's
of course
the
they have.
Story. Blah, blah, blah. Bungie told us they were going to change things. Well, the one time they change things, I want to note this, the one time they change it, which is the Omnigul strike, they change it to being Navoda, and fucking Shahan is narrating it instead of Eris. Everyone hated it. Everyone hates that strike. Every single person. There's no redeeming factor to that strike. I avoid it like the plague right now. I would rather go do Fallen Saber or Sepix Prime because I have those D1 memories and because it's the exact same thing. They've changed it up in some ways, like there's fucking Briggs in Devil Slayer now. And let me tell you something, on a Grandmaster Nightfall, they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But overall, I'm okay with it staying the same thing because it is paying homage to where we've come from, and it leads into my whole thing of strikes should always be in there because those are really that in the campaign. Those are your stories. The raids really don't tell that much of a story, in all frankness, until you start diving into the lore. Like on a surface level, they don't tell a huge story. Deepstone Crypt is one of the only ones, and even that's kind of half baked at best. Crown of Sorrow, half baked. Scourge of the Past, half baked. Like Last Wish, maybe you're only one in the game that tells a legitimate story of why you're there.
Right.
And so I'm okay with this. Vault was one of the things that always, even as you progressed further through G1, it always stood off by itself because it was really the only major Vex thing we had. Right. We had a handful of strikes, but that was the only raid, that was the only story content, etc., that was related to Vex, because so much of vanilla D1 ultimately became the back half of that story is all about the Vex and the Black Garden.
Right.
So I think this makes a lot of sense. I like this. That kind of confirms to me that a lot of the rewards are probably going to stay the same. There's no way you do this without having Atheon's epilogue in it.
Right. Yeah.
There's no way that you do this without having Fatebringer.
Or...
if I had to wager, I would bet that the armor is gonna end up being the Vault armor from number 1, and that the prestige ornaments are probably going to be the Moments of Triumph armor.
Right.
Or maybe that's the base armor and there's something different for prestige. Like they're gonna have to have something that does that for you. And I want to read exactly what they say here on the blog post. Blah, 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 blah. Vault will launch with contest mode enabled for 24 hours, which you will be 1,300 power to be at the cap for all the encounters. Should be more than easy enough if you have played it all this season. That was the soft cap, or that was the hard cap for this season.
Right.
With 1310 being the pinnacle cap.
Mm-hmm.
Clearing Vault with contest mode active is the first step to access the new challenge mode in the Director and the Tempo's Edge Triumph. Completing Tempo's Edge, a curated list of triumphs, in this newly unlocked challenge mode will be how a fire team crosses the world's first finish line and claims their prize. So you have to clear it twice if you want to claim world's first on this.
Yeah.
That is a great idea, in my opinion. I think that's great. And you have to do those specific triumphs on your second run through.
Right.
To enforce the triumph requirements in challenge mode, your team will wipe if you fail the success conditions during each encounter. So I think that this is great. I really, really, really enjoy that.
I love watching. Like I'm really gonna be interested to watch the challenge mode in this one specifically. Just because this is the first time they're doing that, right? Because we're unvaulting a raid, we're changing up, world's first. I want to see what the challenges are.
I'm excited to see what those challenges are. They say challenge mode and Tempo's Edge will only be available for the first 24 hours, and then that node will disappear. The encounter challenges will become available again later in the season. I am very interested to see this. So before we go too far, though, we actually have a question about this.
We do.
Colonel Panic wrote into us.
Colonel Panic.
Our good friend, Joe Wilson, Colonel Panic.
Angry Dad streaming. You should check it out on Facebook.
We checked those show notes for him.
Yeah.
What do we think the challenge mode for Vault will be like, is his question. That's a fantastic question, actually.
Okay, so let's go over the encounters real quick for Vault. You have the jumping puzzle. You have the, I forget what it's called, but where we all stood at the top while one person ran around with, killing the oracles, right?
So you have the opening encounter, which is outside, opening the vault.
Oh, yeah, well.
You have that, which is a completely controlled instance now. No random guardians will come through in it. It is a closed instance. You have the initial jumping puzzle down, which isn't really so much of a puzzle these days. It's just a really long ways down if you fall.
Yeah. You
have the Oracle Room, which is the first place where we ever picked up a relic. It's literally called the Relic.
Right.
After you get through that, you have the Gorgon Maze. You have the jumping puzzle. And then you have, I forget what the pre-Atheon encounter is. It's been 5 years since I did Vault. And then you have Atheon.
It's the where you have to stand in the kind of like outside, you stand in the rings, and
Yes,
then you
yes,
send the
yes.
teams with the relic to like you have to cleanse while you're killing the oracles to make it to the end, right?
Something like that.
And like one team
It's
goes to Venus and one team goes to Mars or something, or
yeah,
Earth
yeah,
or
yeah,
Mars
yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
So one team is, you have the home team and you have the away team.
Mm-hmm.
Because we used to be able to cheese that.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be able to pick who went, and then it became randomized.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge mode, I would imagine they're gonna. I don't know. Maybe they'll dump some extra. They'll dump extra champions in during it. Maybe modifiers will be on. Like I imagine match game will probably be one eventually.
Yeah.
God, a raid with match game, that's gonna be terrible.
Yeah. But it's not
Extra enemies,
impossible.
extra shields.
You think there'll be
I expect a
champions
lot.
down in the Gorgon maze?
Oh, there's absolutely gonna be fucking unstoppables down there.
I wonder if you have to kill the Gorgons in the Gorgon maze.
Maybe for contest or not contest mode, maybe for challenge mode you have to.
Yeah.
I could see that being something because it was possible to kill them. You just
Mm-hmm.
didn't get anything from them, and you had to do it real quick.
Yeah.
I would imagine with some of these new supers, or not just new supers, but new exotics with the supers, like the Thunder Crash one.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you have Falling Star on, you have two Titans,
Right.
Thunder Dick Smash it, then you might be able to take it out. You have a couple Celestial Nighthawks or some Chaos Reaches, like that would be really cool. I think, like if that was one of the secret triumphs, was you had to kill all the Gorgons.
Yeah.
I would imagine one of them is probably going to be finding Praedyth's corpse.
Yeah.
I could see that being one. There's
Not just finding it, you're probably gonna have to examine it
Mhm.
or take something to it or something.
Right, I could see that being something, but like they hide it like in the middle of the maze or something. Like the maze is probably going to have several things in it,
Right.
because that's the most obnoxious thing to get through.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be drastically easier now that we've done a ton of raids, but when that first came out, I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
Right.
I imagine there might be some stuff hidden when you get teleported to the other realm when you're in Atheon's throne room.
Right.
And I mean, of course, and like champions, like they've teased champions for the regular one though. Like I can't imagine you dropping the regular raid and not having champions in it.
Yeah. I wonder if everyone's gonna have to hold. Like, remember in what was it? The Golgoroth challenge where everybody had to like be like do everything in the Golgoroth. I wonder if everybody has to hold a relic in the Atheon or in the part before.
I don't know if everybody will have to hold. I could definitely see that. Like everybody has to do it for the oracles.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that being one. I think doing it in Atheon would be a little bit just too chaotic. But doing it during the oracles would be a way that you can't. There's no way they haven't patched it to where you can't stand up there and just shoot down.
Yeah.
There's no way they haven't patched that by now.
Yeah.
I would imagine that is probably one because I mean that's been a mechanic before in a raid, right? In Valkalor,
Yeah.
in Spire of Stars, everybody has to pass the ball real, and then you have to dunk it. Like I could imagine you something like that. Like the game is like mentally keeping track of who has it. Like maybe you get locked out from holding the relic.
Yeah.
A la Deepstone Crypt. Like I think there's a lot of things you can do there that aren't bad, but are just annoying enough that an unskilled team won't do it the first day.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the whole point of World's First, right? Like we hit that with Deepstone Crypt where it was really aggravating on that first day. Like we got hung up at 8-tracks like everybody else. We came in the next day and just like wiped the floor with them once we all had Lament.
Mm-hmm.
We got past that, and the last two encounters were cake.
Right.
But it would have been a gigantic hassle to try and do it day one. Like, I won't lie. Like, I mean, trying to knock down Taniks that second day was still a challenge, but we did it.
Right.
And, like, Atheon is going to be very similar. Like, if you get it done in the first day, congratulations. You are one of the best PvE players in the game.
Do you think there's going to be some sort of secret behind him? I know we kind of speculated on that before. Like up the stairs? You think there's going to be something?
I think there has to be.
Right.
I would love it if that's where the final chest was.
Yeah.
If they put it up there and like the first team to like clear him gets Atheon's epilogue out of it.
Yeah.
I think that would be really cool. But I don't know. I'm curious to see how they dole that weapon out, because that's going to be the most sought after exotic in a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many exotics have been tied to quests or to the season pass. We haven't really had anything we've had to hardcore chase in a while that's an exotic.
Yeah.
You know, you get the raid exotic each year. I mean, Eyes of Tomorrow is a completely random one. I would like to see this one be a quest because it's such a beloved exotic from Destiny 1.
Right.
I'd like to see this one be a quest. And because it would be the only... No, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking... Oh, God, I've been misspeaking. Atheon's epilogue is the auto rifle.
You're talking about Vex Mythoclass.
Mythoclass. God, I promise I was not drinking today. I'm just really tired. Vex Mythoclass is what I keep meaning to talk about. Mythoclass, I can't imagine them not making that a exotic quest like Divinity.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like every single raid needs to do that, but I think a healthy balance of that and ones that are RNG would be useful. Like, I like that Divinity, because it's such a useful gun, it's not RNG gated.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do a shitload of puzzles. I could imagine doing some of those challenges would give you Vex Mythoclast.
Or like
you have to
maybe you do the quest to get the gun and get Mythoclast, and then you do the challenge mode to get the Catalyst.
I would definitely see that as something that could happen. I just don't know if they'll throw a Catalyst in that quickly. Because you figure they would only the people who get through challenge mode on the first day in the first 24 hours would have the Catalyst to like a very tiny percent of the population until you bring challenge mode back later in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that's almost a damn near guarantee is in challenge mode. They'll have some specific puzzles to do, and at the end you'll get rewarded with some exotic items or some special armor ornaments. Yeah. I think it would be really cool if they rewarded you with the year 1 or the year 3 Moments of Triumph armor.
Yeah, I remember that armor looking really cool. You're talking about when they brought all the raids up to power, like light level, and
during Festival of Heroes or whatever it was, the lead up to Destiny 2.
Right. Yeah.
Like the back half of Rise of Iron when they did that. That's when I came back in to Destiny after taking a break since Taken King, and I remember that happening because I went through Vault with some people. I went through Crota's End a few times. I think I did King's Fall one more time, and all those armor ornaments were really, really cool. It gave incentive to run them again, and my hope is that if you're going to do this, because they've already said challenge mode is going to be a thing for all raids and dungeons going forward, I want to see cosmetic rewards that make it worth my time.
Yeah, I think ornaments are the best way to do that.
I think locking weapons behind it is a really shitty thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, maybe the Catalyst is one of the things. Like, you get the Catalyst from beating Atheon. Because I see almost no way Vex Mythoclast is not going to be a quest-based gun.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, what was the shotgun you got from Leviathan? The Legend of Acreus or
Legend
whatever?
of Acreus. Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's something like that to where, like, you get the gun and then to, like,
it's not as powerful.
Yeah.
It's ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Like, Acreus was kind of obnoxious. Like, I think if you did that, it would just be like, oh, you need to go complete it again to get the full gun, and then for the Catalyst, you need to complete it on Prestige or Challenge.
Yeah, it would be more fleshed out. It would be a more fleshed out version of that idea.
I would like something like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
I just want you to be able to have the gun at normal power and not just this bullshit of like, oh, it can only hold like one round at a time or something. Like, no, like give me the weak version of the gun, make me go do a quest and like complete Vault again at the end of that quest line or something.
Yeah.
And then give me the full powered gun. But like be like, oh, you're really gonna want the Catalyst for this.
Or like
entice us to go do challenge mode.
Or like maybe like the exotic Kvastov quests where like you have the gun and then you do the quests and you get the like the more powerful version or the exotic version or whatever.
Would it be cool if they dropped it as a legendary first and you made it an exotic by doing a quest?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you go and do the quest. Yeah.
I think that would be really, really unique to do. I would like that. It's funny because Nerd Colonel and I floated this a couple weeks ago about in a raid if we brought we made legendaries into exotics, for example. Like, would people be upset? Like, we floated it with Falling Guillotine. Like, if Guillotine was made an exotic, could we give it back its normal amount of damage, like pre-nerfs?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a way to do that without like completely wrong.
Without taking a dump all over the player base to like grind it out for a good roll.
Yeah. You know, because it's just grinding out an exotic then. And then you can still have like the legendary version of it if you want to use an exotic somewhere else, right? Like maybe they just, you know, I don't know. It'd be weird to put a switch on a weapon and be like, whoa, well, we're turning off the exotic status of this weapon. You know, maybe you just get the exotic version of it. Like the swords in Taken King, right? Like that. Almost.
I would love to see a quest line like that again. I think that. Oh god, dude, what if that? I'm getting so many thoughts now. I really want the legendary weapons back though, because I like Atheon's Epilogue. We all love Fatebringer. A Vision of Confluence, which was one of my most used guns.
What about Icebreaker?
So I mean, I guess I'm talking like specifically vault weapons.
Oh yeah, I always think of that as a vault weapon because everybody used it in vault.
Icebreaker, in my opinion, Icebreaker is the one exotic that they will never ever bring back because it would simply break the entire game if they did. The way D2's economy is for ammo, I think that gun would just simply break everything. We saw it in the tail end of year 1 when you paired year 3 Icebreaker with any sidearm really.
Right.
In trials or in PvP, that was it. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
That's just...
And there was that one, I forget what the sidearm was called, but it was like a burst. It was like a burst sidearm where it shot like 3 or 4 shots every time you shot it. And like you paired that with Icebreaker and everybody was just like... I remember that's why my friends, half of them played trials and that's all they used, and the other half were like, I'm done with Destiny because this is terrible.
Corey, unless we got any final thoughts on Vault coming back, we're going to move on.
That's fine, because we could talk about Vault forever, you know.
We really could. We're going to talk about Vault more as we get closer and closer. For those not keeping track at home, myself, Nerd Generalist, A1 Johnny, and Colonel Panic are planning a day 1 attempt of the Vault. 3 of us have done it before. The other 3 guys on our team never have.
Ooh, that's...
It's gonna be spicy. We are very excited. We're really looking forward to doing that.
I want to say though,
may stream it.
I want to say that Vault is not extremely difficult to teach because it is such a DPS heavy raid. I feel like
Vault mechanically is not hard.
Yeah,
to learn. Mastering it is something else entirely.
Right.
I genuinely think we've had far harder raids at this point, but there's a reason why Vault is still so high on so many people's rankings. I mean, we when we ranked the raids, I don't think those of us who had done it, you, me, and Joe, I don't think any of us had it below number 4 on our list.
No, I think it was number 3 for me.
I had it at 4 or 5 because I went Last Wish, or no, I went King's Fall, Last Wish. God, what was my third one? I think I went Garden, and then I went Vault, and that was our pre-Deep Stone Crypt rankings. I think I would still keep them the same, but man, I'm just so excited to go back. Clearing Vault for the first time is one of my favorite gaming memories ever because it was something we'd never seen in a game before. I cleared it with some buddies that I've literally played Bungie games with since we were kids. And one of them is actually going to be with us on the day 1 attempt, my friend Matt. I'm very excited for it. It's gonna be an awesome time.
Yes,
I
yes,
am
it is.
excited to see what the rewards look like, which we won't know until we get in there. I am eagerly awaiting people to be tweeting me while I am trying to do the first encounter, going, "Oh my God, Fatebringer's back!" Like I'm just wait, or like, "Oh my God, look at the armor!" Like, because if they don't show us the armor ahead of time, we're all gonna be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this." So, only a couple more weeks until we figure all that out. But Corey, the
please,
big story this week.
please stream that.
I will be I will probably be streaming our day one attempt, assuming that my internet can actually hold up. Um, our big story this week: weapon buffs
Ooh,
next season. And my God, we have a lot. We have an awful lot here.
yeah,
Most of this is centered on perks and on heavy weapons.
yeah,
So I want to jump into what Chris Proctor says here. He says, whenever they think about weapon rolls with heavy weapons, they tend for them to excel in one or two areas. So rolls include ad clear, single target damage, which is burning, burst damage for burning a champion, or for bosses with multiple damage phases. How they map those weapons: sword, ammo efficient ad clear, single target sustained damage, secondary burst damage, but you have to get really close and potentially get stomped out. Rocket launchers, primary for burst, secondary for ad clear. Machine gun, ammo efficient ad clear, secondary single target sustained. Linear fusion, single target sustained, for crit spot, secondary burst damage. Don't know if I agree with that. Large grenade launchers, burst ad clear, secondary single target damage. Again, don't know if I really agree with that. And then exotic snipers. Exotic snipers, remember those? Single target sustained damage. Yeah, they go into how they've used heavy weapons in high difficulty content and their balance philosophy. Big swings make a big change we believe will immediately encourage new player behavior. Most useful, we need to nerf or buff something hard enough that everyone can tell it's happened, with the expectation that we may need to dial the tuning in a later release. Examples: 120 hand cannon buff in Beyond Light, or the rocket launcher buff in Season of the Chosen. And then incremental changes. Something we feel isn't far off from where it needs to be, and nudge it a little bit at a time. So precision auto rifle change that we're going to outline here in just a second, or Season of Arrival's high impact pulse change. In most releases, we make both types of changes, which we choose for a given feature depends on how much time we have to test and iterate on a change, how many changes are already in a release, and how close we think a feature is to being balanced. So weapon archetypes that they are going to adjust in this next season. I apologize. A lot of this is just going to be like weapon archetypes. I encourage everybody to read along with the Schwab if you're listening to this.
read along, kids. Read along.
Yeah, it is going to go into a lot of depth. I'm not going to cover it too extensively. I'd rather save that for some of the weapon perks that we all know about. But precision auto rifles, which are 450 RPMs. So when we say precision auto rifles, we are talking your Shadow Price, for example. I love Shadow Price. It's one of the Nightfall weapons this season. I got the Adept version. It's a range masterwork, and then I've got the Adept range mod on it. So it's completely maxed out.
I love Shadow Price.
I like it a lot. I was using it in Crucible earlier. I know it's not an optimal choice, but it was going pretty good for me. Increased precision auto rifle damage per bullet from 17 to 18. It fell behind in auto rifle tuning last year, so damage has been increased to be closer to time to kill of the others. That's great, because that's one of the complaints is you can't do enough damage quickly enough, because it is like it's a very stable subclass or subfamily of guns. It's like Shadow Price, like I was shooting people across the map like and if they're unaware, that's great. You can kill them in a couple bullets. But if they're coming right at you, you're probably going to die every time. There's some stuff about rares in here. Y'all can read that on your own. The big one here is linear fusion rifles. Unpopular choices in PvP, largely because other weapons do their intended job. Single target sustain damage better or more efficiently without the requirement of landing all precision hits. That's exactly why I don't like to use them in PvE content. We want to keep linear fusion rifles focused on precision damage, but decided to increase precision damage to make them more competitive, and increase reserves to give them more staying power. we have seen the suggestions to move some or all linear fusion rifles out of the heavy slot, but this is a substantial amount of work and a balance risk for PvP due to the difficulty of balancing snipers as instant shot weapons against LFRs with charge time. With wildly varying flinch and aim assist values, reduces weapon diversity in the heavy slot. It is still a possibility for some time in the future, though, if tuning them as heavy weapons does not have the desired effect. So I want to focus on that real fast before we get to the changes. I'm one of those who has called for them to be moved to the energy slot. I'm infinitely more okay with this explanation here.
Yeah, I always wondered why linear fusion rifles were not there, but I mean, it makes sense reading this, right? Like,
I would say, look at how much we had to nerf the shit out of Arbalest this season to make it viable to stay as a primary.
Right.
The buffs that they give it are increased precision damage by 15%. Great.
That's huge. That's a huge buff. 15%.
I'm very curious to see how that plays in PvE.
Right.
And increased reserve ammo by 20%. This for me is the bigger one because that's one of my major complaints about linear fusions is you have about the same amount of ammunition, if not slightly less than the average sniper rifle, and they're just not viable. But with these changes, I'm like, okay, I could see myself at least attempting to use a linear fusion next season. Yeah. But still, I'm already looking at this and going, I still have so many other choices. Like, now, if I want something precision in that heavy slot, I probably will try to choose this, but I also already have Xenophage for that purpose. Which, you have to aim Xenophage a little bit more because of the kickback, but I can also just hold down the trigger and keep doing sustained damage if I use Xeno.
Right.
This makes me think that a Xenophage nerf is coming in the future before the Witch Queen.
I feel like that, which sucks because that weapon is amazing. it never leaves my heavy.
And I think that's part of the problem. Like, it's such an obtainable weapon too. It's a best in slot weapon that is not that difficult to get. It requires some effort or you to read a guide, but it's not. I mean,
you can cheese it. Like, the only thing you have to do is fight that boss when you get there. Like, when Mitch and I ran it with Willow ran us through the cheese, and you like run around the map. Like, it's like the cheese isn't hard, and even if you want to do it legit, it's still not that difficult.
Doing it legit is a piece of cake. I've done it legit several times. It's not a problem. The hardest part is honestly doing the puzzles leading up to it if you don't want to read a guide. That is genuinely the hardest part leading up to it. But again, like, it's a solid day's effort and you'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
So excited to see what they do and what this means going forward, because I do think they're going to end up having to pull these out of the heavy slot eventually. Mm-hmm. But like they say, that's going to be an awful lot of work and you risk upsetting the balance. Mm-hmm. So I could see them taking linear fusions entirely out of the game while they work on that. Because, I mean, the usage rate is not high on these to begin with. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I really only use them to get my gunsmith bounty, and then
I don't even do that. I just skip it at this point.
Yeah. Well, you also have a lot more materials and things that I don't.
Let me tell you, them dumping that fucking linear fusion from this season into my inventory as many times as they have has made me never, ever want to touch a linear fusion ever again. Yeah. I'm good. I'll pass. Forever I will pass.
Pass.
The only other class that we're getting buffed here, they talk about fusion rifles really briefly. Recent buff to fusion rifle ranges had the side effect of making the best subfamily for PvP high impact even better, so we've decided to bring low range stat fusion rifles up a fair bit. Increased damage fall off start distance for fusion rifles, no effect on 100 range stat, plus 2 meters on 0 range. So kind of curious to see how this works. Maybe it'll be, useful for something else. Some other fusions will be used, because right now the only fusions I really see running around in PvP are Jotun, of course, and Glaciocasm. Mm-hmm. Even Glaciocasm I don't see too often. I might see it like once or twice a week. Mm-hmm. But it's usually like higher end players, like players who have gone to flawless, that I see using it.
Every time I see Every time
Or
I see the word fusion rifle, I just think Telesto, and it just haunts me forever.
oh god, yeah, I do see the occasional Telesto, and I get really worried that the game is just going to break on me.
Oh, I hate Telesto so much. Not that it's a bad weapon. I mean, it's not amazing, but it just, man, there was a point where I was trying to grind out some stuff, and the only exotic I got for like 2 months was a Telesto. Like every single exotic that I got was a Telesto, and I'm like, oh my god, please stop.
The meat of these changes, though, is in the perks of the weapons.
Right.
Again, we're going to go over a handful of these. I'm not going to go over all of them like in depth. You can read up on them, or you can send in questions for next week, and we'll go over some of the concerns that I have about some of these. But let's start off with one of my favorite perks. I really like this perk. I didn't like it a lot until this season when I got it on Dead Man's Tale. Subsistence. So, Subsistence is one of those interesting perks. It's one that, like, as you land hits, you get ammo refunded to you, but it pulls it from reserves. And I really want to read their explanation here on this one. When we made this perk, we were experimenting with unusual downsides for powerful perks, but ultimately decided reducing reserves wasn't an interesting trade-off. We also wanted to be able to put the perk on special and heavy weapons where reducing reserves would feel terrible. Submachine guns were granting a much smaller magazine fraction than auto rifles, so we fixed that at the same time. No longer does this perk reduce reserve ammunition, and SMGs now receive the same ammo fraction per takedown that auto rifles do. Was 10% like most weapons, now 17%, same as auto rifles. This, for me, instantly becomes a desirable perk on most guns, especially on precision weapons.
Right.
I love this change. I am just weeping tears of joy that I have a Dead Man's Tale that has that exact roll on it. I am absolutely thrilled.
You lucky son of a gun.
I've run that mission so many times, and I still have to say that I think Subsistence is probably my favorite roll that I've gotten on it. And that was before these changes. It was that or Snapshot, and I just think that's fantastic. High impact reserves and under pressure. Due to technical constraints at the time these were created, the trigger condition for these is on projectile impact, but we have more flexibility in perk activators now, and these are now active as long as their conditions are met. I really like that. I'm a big fan of high impact reserves and under pressure. I just felt that they were never executed properly, and there were definitely more desirable perks. Unrelenting. This was hard to trigger in difficult combat or content, and the health awarded was hard to perceive. Now easier to trigger in PvE. Immediate trigger on majors and heals 20% more. Sympathetic Arsenal. Isn't appealing enough for many players as it is, but useful in niche situations, so we decided on a small buff to sweeten it. Now grants plus 20 reload in addition to its primary effect. Again, kind of like this. I've been playing around with one with that perk on my trustee. I've got Surplus and Sympathetic on one of them. Excited to see how this works, especially because I tend to pair that with an SMG in my primary if I'm running that, or with, I know this is heresy, but running a Pulse, running double primaries. Dragonfly, it always bugged us. Dragonfly wouldn't proc on every enemy you could finish with a precision hit. Now works on heavy shanks and servitors and occurs even faster than after the Season of the Chosen fix. I love this. There is no more fun perk on a gun than Dragonfly, especially if you have the Dragonfly spec mod. I really enjoy this. You guys can go read about Hipfire Griff. They did buff it a little bit, but I'm gonna let you guys read that. There's a lot of numbers and a lot of technical crap there. Iron Grip, Gaze, and Reach from the Iron Banner weapons. We were cautious when making stat bump perks in Season of Arrivals, not wanting to break weapon stat ranges at too low a cost. The penalties these shipped with were too much now that we've seen them out in the wild. So instead of the stat penalty from being -40, it's down to -30. I do think that makes those weapons a little bit more appealing. I personally still really like using my auto rifle that has, I want to say it's Iron Grip on it, is what I have. I haven't used Forward Path in a little bit, just because I was playing around with other weapons and other auto rifles. But I do really like that in my primary slot, and I believe it has iron grip on it. Osmosis and elemental capacitor. I would encourage you to go read that, because Osmosis now switches weapon to stasis damage when playing as a stasis subclass. I think that's really cool. And elemental capacitor with a stasis subclass grants recoil direction and reduces ADS move speed penalty. I think that's good. No distractions because of an exotic change below in the sniper rifle flinch changes. We wanted to make sure no distractions is a more appealing option for combating flinch. Reduced trigger time from 1.5 seconds to 1 second, and increased flinch resolution from 30 to 35. We've already talked about the Celerity and Bottomless Grief perks, but here they are again. Celerity will grant plus 20 to handling and 20 to reload in addition to the triggered effect. Bottomless Grief now always grants plus 30 to magazine in addition to triggered effect. Please remember that these are alternate perks on adept weapons and cannot be applied retroactively. Yeah, these can't apply retroactively for adept weapons. But I do believe they can apply retroactively to the regular drops. I don't know, though. The wording is really weird on that. And then the thresh change is already up. Mods, Adept Mag, Targeting, and Counterbalance all got some changes. I encourage you to go read those. There is a change to Meta Multi-Tool for exotics. The Catalyst perk will be changed from Outlaw to No Distractions. If you have the Meta Catalyst, congratulations, because you've hit Legend in comp at least once. And then Hawkmoon increases priority of Paracoozle Charge and shot buff text, sometimes dropping off the bottom of the list. But beyond those immediate changes, we do have a little bit about the future. They are going to look at shotguns overall because they want more weapons to be viable on all maps, and they can achieve that through tuning, giving other special weapons room to excel. That will be later on in Season 14. Dead Man's Tale is also going to get a bit of a nerf. They tell us they have a change ready to go that reins in the ability to challenge sniper rifles, 120 hand cannons, and scout rifles while in hip fire without detracting from the fantasy of the weapon. Because, I mean, right now you can basically just aim. You can just shoot without aiming and get headshots with that gun.
Yeah.
And then fusion rifles, as some of our other changes, we don't want to bump these too much too fast, so we'll follow up if needed. I think all of these changes overall are really, really good for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of these are needed, especially for me. The big ones, like I'm interested to see how the linear fusion ones play out. I'm very happy about the changes to Subsistence, Dragonfly, and the Iron Banner perks.
Yeah, the Dragonfly perk is going to be awesome.
That's going to be spicy.
Yeah,
that's going to be real spicy. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how Osmosis and Elemental Capacitor play now.
Get your milk. It's going to be spicy.
Do what?
So get your milk. It's going to get spicy.
It is going to get spicy. Yeah, there's not a... Like, there's a lot there to take in, but it's one of those, like, I would encourage you to read over this list and to kind of brace yourself. If you like some of these perks and you'll have a whole lot of weapons, maybe this is the time to go get them with a couple of weeks left in the season. Or if you are enjoying something that's going to get nerfed into the ground, keep enjoying it, because like Fellwinters, they're coming specifically for Fellwinters.
Yeah, dude, every time I enter the Crucible, especially something competitive, it's Dead Man's Tale and Fellwinters. That's all anybody ever uses. Or like, some sort of hand cannon that's...
I hit Igneous Hammer every single match.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Trials hand cannon. I hit that. I hit Palindrome a fair amount. I don't actually encounter Dead Man's too much. Thank God it's usually people on my team using it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't encounter it too much. I hit 120 hand cannons like nobody's business, though. But again, like I still think the weapon meta is in a really, really good place overall. I think it's abilities that need to be reined in a bit. We already had the stasis nerfs, although I've had the worst time of my life playing Crucible the last couple weeks. It's genuinely the worst Crucible has felt to me since year 1 of Destiny 2. It's the least fun I've had.
Ooh.
So I'm curious to see if I'm going to keep feeling that into next season or not. It's just genuinely, it's been awful. I don't know what's changed, but something has changed and it feels terrible. It's been specifically during Guardian games.
Yeah.
So I am looking to see if there's anything else in the Schwab that we need to cover, but I don't think that there is. Um, some very minor fixes and a hot fix that went live today about Guardian game stuff. Um,
I haven't really checked in on Guardian games this week. Are the hunters still like blowing everybody away?
so the Hunters won the first 6 days. Warlocks won the next two, and as of right now, I'm actually loaded in the game. I'll go to the tower right now to check. I believe at the time of this recording, Hunters and Warlocks are almost neck and neck for day 9. Um, honestly, like if the Hunters get to 11 wins, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's at the very least, it's more competitive than it was last year.
Yeah,
where Hunters won the first day and then Titans won everything after.
yeah. I just remember the Titans kind of like blew everybody out of the water last year. So
yeah, the way the classes were weighted last year, like they had so much bonus percentage given to them. We'd heard there was going to be bonus percentage given to whoever came in last, but I don't actually know if it's happening. If you want me to be completely honest with you. So in the tower, Hunters are ahead by just a little bit, about the same as it was earlier, but it's real close today.
Mm-hmm.
Hunters have won 7 days, not 6. They've won 7 days, so this is actually day 10 of the event. So they need to, if they win today, that would require winning 3 more to seal the deal.
Cool.
So, and it's entirely possible that technically they have already sealed it. If Warlocks and Titans split the rest,
right?
Every day that Hunters win from now on makes it that much harder,
right?
So, I'm going back to the Schwab, seeing if we have anything else on here. I don't think
it doesn't look like there's much. Just the community stuff and.
They do say at the end, keep your eyes peeled next week for more info on the coming season. So I expect we'll finally get the name next week. We may get the seasonal calendar.
The Season of the Sexy, which is what everybody's calling it.
Season of the Sexy. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there was data mine on the Bungie website that said that it was going to be Season of the Splicer, which we did not dive into last week. Corey and I talked about it offline, and I talked with Nerd and Colonel about it a bit in game chat. But Bungie went in and changed that after that leaked, and changed it to Season of the XXX.
Mm-hmm.
And so people have been calling it Season of the Sexy.
It's fine with me if they want to.
I think it's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, like, ooh, Zavala, don't flatter me too much.
Oh boy, everybody's going to predict that Marasov's coming back. Is that how this works?
Oh, dude, I would love for Marasan to come back.
I mean, Destiny needs something to compete with Resident Evil 8's giant vampire lady. So,
oh my god, okay. So this is not Destiny related, but the NFL draft is going on. I have it going on my other screen right now. I have a friend. One of my very dearest friends in the world, Aaron Morris, is a diehard Bears fan, and the Bears just traded up to number 11 in the draft to get Justin Fields out of Ohio State as their new quarterback. He is losing his ever-loving mind right now. He is
he upset?
Incredibly happy.
Oh.
No, he is stoked. He's been begging for this.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when your choices are fucking Mitch Trubisky or Big Dick Nick Foles, then and you got absolutely led to believe we're going to get Russell Wilson at some point and did not. Then after a whole, I don't know, lifetime of disappointment at the QB spot, I guess this is what it's like to be excited. So I'm happy. I'm happy for them. I think Fields is going to be a really good quarterback. I'm excited to see how he develops. But congratulations, Aaron. We love you guys.
I really hope that the Browns don't blow their 26th pick. God, the only time the Browns have ever picked that high is when they traded up to get back into the first round. Because they're usually in the top 10 picks. Oh, man, there's your sports minute. Check out Trash Talk.
Yeah, there's your sports minute during the Guardian games.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try not to pay any more attention to the draft while this is going on. Seahawks aren't even in the first round, so I don't know why I care.
That's not true. You're gonna pay attention.
We do have another question though. Before we get to the lore corner tonight, we have another question.
We do.
From Galatrad. What is the most powerful and spectacular class in both combat and story? Why is the correct answer Titan? First off, it's not hunters. Let me tell you something. It's not the hunters. We do have some of the most legendary guardians, but not the ones who have done the flashiest things necessarily. So we're going to take hunters out of the running.
There are a lot of Titans in the tower right now.
There are a shitload of Titans in the tower. There's too many Titans in the tower.
You got Zavala. You got Shaxx. You got Saint 14. You got Saladin sometimes. Who am I missing?
Drifter.
Yeah, you got Drifter. There's a lot of Titans, man. There's a lot of Titans. So
there's a lot of Titans, but I think if you're looking at the overall story, you can make it. I think, like, logistically, for story purposes, I think it's Titans. I will acquiesce to that. Because, like you said, like, look at who all you have in the Titans corner. Like, and this is just people in the tower alone. Saladin, Shaxx, Zavala, and Saint. Mm-hmm. And then Drifter, who is kind of like, I would say, kind of a combination of, like, all three. But you have those four. Four of the most legendary guardians of all time are, like, the heads of your class. Like, I don't know if you can really argue with that, honestly, in terms of, like, I mean, whether it's your Nova Bomb, it's your Chaos Reach. I mean, like, even just if we're going, like, canonically, like, where the story is right now, I mean, you look at the things that Osiris does when his ghost dies. You know, he takes the last burst of light from Sagira, and it's a shame we never saw this scene play out in the game, but he uses all three subclasses, like, at once. He's hurling Nova Bombs, he's using lightning, he's, you know, summoning flames, like, you know, he's summoning dawn blades. Like, that is something that I could only ever hope to see play out on screen. It's almost as glorious as the Cade 6 cinematic, where he's using Golden Gun repeatedly and throwing I keep calling it shards, but Wave 1,000 Cuts. Mm-hmm. And he's bloody barraging people. And it's weird because I think when we talk about combat, we have to consider, like, how the classes play right now. Mm-hmm. Right, like, how do they play with us, like, in regards to supers only, supers and abilities only. And for me, honestly, I think it goes Warlocks, and I think there's a drop off to Titans and Hunters. And I would even probably give, like, slight bias. I would probably give Hunters the slight edge there, just because they have more varied means of combat and supers and things like that. When it comes to actual story power, though, I don't think there's any arguing that it's Titans. Mm-hmm. Like, you can make an argument for Warlocks, and there is no argument to be made for Hunters. I mean, it's Cade, Andal Brask, and Tallulah Fairwind, mm-hmm. My boy Shin Malphur, literal creator of the Golden Gun. But I don't know. Like, I think, especially for recent Destiny history, like the 200 years preceding where we are currently in the story, it's absolutely Titans. I think as you go back a little bit farther, you know, that's when you get into the stories of Andal, Tallulah, and Shin especially. I think you can make an argument for another class if you go back farther, but really, since Battle of Six Fronts, it's been mainly Titans. Mm-hmm. I mean, Hunters have Ana Bray in their back corner. Ana was one of the legendary ones at Twilight Gap. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Like, Corey, what do you think? I need to hear from a Titan himself. What do you think?
I mean, I think in terms of story and just the way that they're kind of, you know, just the way the story has played out so far, and the stuff that we know from the lore, it's definitely a Titans universe. It feels like, with even in like Rise of Iron, you had Saladin's story. With the initial run up to Destiny 2, you had all those cool cutscenes with Zavala and how he, was building the wall, and you go back to Six Fronts and Twilight Gap and all these other stories that you hear about, right? Like it's been Titans.
I would argue until Destiny 2 it wasn't really a Titans world. I actually think Hunters had a pretty decent amount of the spotlight in Destiny 1. Because we were the only ones we had a Vanguard with a personality.
Well, yeah, but I mean in terms of lore.
Cade and Eris.
I meant in terms of the lore. I didn't mean like the story in the games.
In terms of the lore, well, if we're going to go into terms of the lore from Destiny 1, I think especially it's Hunters. Because that's when we first got some of the backstory about the Last Word and about the Gunslingers, which that's Shin Malphur. You have Marcus Wren, who's, the creator of the Sparrow Racing League. You've got, Shiro 4, you've got Cade 6. We have the story of Andal Brask, getting the revenge on him for being killed by Tannix. You've got Tallulah introduced for the first time in the lore. Eris Morn. Like, Cade and Eris literally carry two or three expansions out of this whole thing.
That's true.
In Destiny 1.
Cade pretty much carries the entire game by himself. Right. Cade's the only one with a personality at all.
Right. You can definitely make, I think on screen, you definitely can make the case that the Hunters absolutely, and even in the lore to an extent, absolutely carry Destiny 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Destiny 2 is where it gets a little bit more muddled because, we get the backstories of Zavala, Shaxx. We learn a lot more about Saladin. We hear about, Shaxx's days as a warlord.
Mm-hmm.
That was just introduced. We learn more about the Iron Lords. We learn about, Fellwinter was. I don't remember. I think Fellwinter was a warlock. I want to say
it's a warlock because the warlocks have Fellwinter's helmet as an exotic.
Yeah. So, I think when you take all that into consideration, I think Destiny 1, I think it's Hunters. Destiny 2, I think it's Titans. The Warlocks have always existed in the middle. They've never been the best, but they've never been the worst in terms of, carrying the actual story. But those that they have, Ikora and Osiris are absolutely, without a doubt, two of, probably the three most powerful Guardians to ever exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see Ikora come back, by the way.
Yeah, Osiris runs circles around everybody, basically, until he loses his light.
Mm-hmm.
Ikora, literally holds, the all-time record in the Crucible, I think, canonically.
Mm-hmm.
Ikora is an absolute killing machine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And that's not me saying, Zavala was not. Zavala's the tower commander. You have the Titans have to have the tower commander, and they have to have the heads of Crucible and Gambit in their corner. Trials.
The thing
they
is,
have to have the heads of everything in their corner.
To be the leader, though, you don't have to necessarily have to be the most powerful or the the strongest or the most intimidating, right? I could probably name 3 or 4 Guardians more powerful than Zavala, right? As out of what we've seen, Saladin, probably Saint 14, probably, obviously Ikora and Osiris are probably way more powerful than Zavala, right? I
personally would say so, yes. But Zavala's tower commander for a reason.
Right.
So when it comes down to it, in terms of the story,
overall
story, I think it could be pretty close between all three classes, frankly, if we really start digging into the lore. But
I think a lot of people,
as far as what most players are going to outwardly see in terms of NPCs and what's on screen, it's absolutely going to be perceived as Titans.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's whatever class is your favorite and you're interested in the story at all, you're gonna look up, these are the important Titans, let's go see what their story's about. I think that's kind of how it is too.
Like, and I kind of like I like that you said it that way, because it's like, I could sit here and make the case for the hunters because I've dived into so much of the lore and what happens off screen. Like, the reason why you don't see a whole lot of hunters in the game is like they die. They die in the field. Like they are the scouts. They are the ones who are charting kind of these, I don't know, uncharted waters. Titans are the defenders of the tower. Warlocks kind of fall somewhere between. And I think like when you start digging into some of the hunter backstories, it's absolutely fascinating. When you read it, I mean, like, yeah, sure, okay, they're giving us Crow. Okay, cool. Like, I don't care. Crow's not tech. He's a hunter, but he's not. I swear to God, if you guys take this away from me after giving him a cloak, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna literally drive to Luke Smith's house and complain with a megaphone.
To be fair, Crow looks cool with a cape.
Crow does look cool in a cape. When can I get his cape is my question.
I mean, could you imagine him with a Titan chest piece? No.
It would look like he has fake boobs.
Yeah. He'd look like Shah Han trying to cosplay a Titan.
My God. Oh, God. Hunters can't win. We have fucking Shah Han. We can't win.
You automatically get -5 points in terms of ranking for that. Hawthorne has a better story than the Hunters now because the Hunters have Shah Han.
Dude. I don't want to talk about it. We're going to move right on ahead. Corey, we're going to shift into the lore corner.
Lore corner.
Lore corner.
That was my song.
I don't have a fun jingle for it.
I don't either.
I'm a little upset.
I don't either. That's fine.
So,
it's fine.
Lore corner this week. I had said that we were going to do 2 pieces, and I haven't decided if I'm going to read the second piece quite yet or not. I don't know.
Well, let's see where the first one takes us, and then we'll...
Yeah, we're going to see where the first one takes us. I'm going to see how I feel about doing the others. I wanted to do some Guardian game-specific lore this week and next week. I meant to start it last week, but we did Anarchy instead, and I really enjoyed reading Anarchy, considering how we think that the Fallen are going to be playing a big part in the upcoming season. And speaking of Warlocks, Ikora is going to be back in the story starting here in 2 weeks, so excited to see how that one goes. This comes from the Color of Speed Sparrow that you can earn in Guardian games. I believe it's the one you can get from it's the one you can get from the Triumph for earning class points. And it's the thing you have to unlock in order to get the track jacket from Bungie Rewards. But the flavor text says, after a certain point, speed is a matter of willpower. Petrovenge. Eva Levante threads a needle with fine white silk. A lone lamp lights the wood grain of her table and the length of handsome black cloth in front of her. She only touches this garment at night, when her small flat in the last city is shrouded in secrecy. With each stitch, she recalls the strange encounter some months ago that prompted her clandestine work. It was late in the evening. She'd been walking back from the tower, nearly home, when she heard a smooth voice quietly assert, "Eva, it's been too long. You look bright as ever." Osiris melted out of the shadows near her doorway. The ex-outfitter snorted. That's faint praise coming from someone who's been 50 for several centuries. "My age shows in other ways. May I come in?" "Of course." She opened the door and noticed how he looked over both shoulders before he crossed the threshold. "It's good to see you back in the tower, Osiris." Eva watched him out of the corner of her eye as she put the kettle on. "I take it you're not here on official Vanguard business." "No, I'm not. I'm here to ask a favor or contract your services, whichever you'd prefer." Osiris perched uncomfortably at the edge of her couch. Eva smiled. His regalia looked a bit absurd set against the mundanity of her cozy apartment. "I'm always happy to grant a favor to an old friend, even if I'm the old one now." She examined her self-serious visitor with a gentle gaze. "What do you need?" "A custom hunter cloak, something that resembles the feathers of a crow." "I'm sure there are plenty of outfitters in the tower that would do a fine job. I gave up on custom outfits years ago after my fingers started to go." She massaged her knuckles reflexively. "I need someone that I trust, someone who can keep a secret." Osiris fixed her with his inscrutable gaze. "If you agree, a ghost called Glint will come by later to help choose the fabric." "A secret cloak?" This is just the type of thing Cade used to come to me for. In fact, the last hunter cloak I sewed was for him. She drifted off sorrowfully and poured the tea. Now, months later, she puts the finishing touches on the requested garment. The black fabric soaks in the meager light, highlighting the delicate white silk. It's as fine a work as she's ever done. Eva can't help but wonder who the new cloak is for. Who could warrant such secrecy? She just hopes it will be worn by a hunter as worthy as her last. That, I didn't expect to get that from a Sparrow when I read that for the first time.
Yeah, that's...
I read it. I read it yesterday when I unlocked the Sparrow, and I was like, "This has to be one of the ones that we talk about tonight."
Yeah.
To hear Cade get brought back, and it's funny because it continues this relationship that Crow has with items from events, dating back to the Dawning from a couple of years ago, and even back to Black Armory. Like how his story keeps getting told in not Eververse items necessarily, but Sparrows and ships and class items. And I think that's surprisingly touching, like a nice callback to Cade. And Osiris trusts Eva enough to make this for Crow, knowing that she won't sit there and talk about it, that it's a secret thing. She only works on it at night. This also confirms something that I wasn't entirely sure about, that it seems like Eva is not a guardian.
Mm-hmm.
That she is simply a civilian, and I mean, to be fair, I have not read her backstory that you can get through here. She's one of the few people at the tower I don't really know a whole lot about. But
she's tower grandma. She just bakes cookies.
I assumed Christmas grandma had a ghost, and to find out here that she doesn't, that's kind of an interesting wink and nod as to why you don't buy shaders from her anymore. Is because she's too old to be doing that. Like, yeah. Do you think they would ever kill her off, like, of old age?
Maybe.
Do you think, like, in Lightfall, she's just gonna, like, die in her sleep or something, and there's gonna be, like, a funeral in the tower?
I mean...
Is that too dark to think about? That's gonna be the final seasonal event of Destiny 2, is Eva's funeral?
No,
and it's still going to be a lot of bounties.
She's really Savathun. She's just luring you in with her cookies.
If she was secretly Savathun, I think I would fucking quit. I would quit because I cannot see Space Grandma go out that way.
Come on, that's hilarious though to think about.
It is hilarious. I'm not arguing with that.
Instead of like space magic, she just lures you in with cookies and paper craft masks during Halloween and
God. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Unsubscribe. The other piece that we have comes from the hunter cloak. I like the class items this time around, and we're going to read the other two next week. We'll read the Titan Mark and the Warlock Bond. But the Cobra's hood says, "I never did find that horn, ... Lord Shaxx." Prakish sat on his gray hornet, parked in his usual spot at the base of the tower. The former Guardian was watching bootleg transmissions of the latest Cabal Deathmatches when one of his runners tugged on his sleeve. Prakish jumped in surprise. "Son of a drag, don't sneak up like that." He smoothed his fur vest in self-placation. "Sorry, sir," the kid scuffed his feet sheepishly. "Just that some guys want to make a bet." Prakish sucked his teeth in annoyance. "So take the bet. What the hell are you hassling me for?" The kid ran his grubby fingers along the sharp black lines of the bookie's ride. "They won't give me the chip. They said I got to talk to you direct." Prakish swatted the runner's hand away. "I just had that detailed." He sighed in exasperation. "Fine, send them over. But if they end up making some lame prop on the new Hunter Vanguard or something, I'm going to run you over with this thing." The kid nodded and scampered off. A few minutes later, a fire team of 3 hunters sauntered over. Prakish slouched further on his Sparrow in a dramatic display of nonchalance. His ex-Crosshair enforcer, Tolnik, cracked his knuckles. The hunters posed coolly in front of the bookie. The team leader, a gunslinger, casually flicked a knife between his fingers. "I guess you've probably heard of us." Prakish glanced at Tolnik, who shook his head. Not really," the bookie said. "Now what's this about?" The Archstrider stepped forward menacingly. "Show respect. You're talking to the Death Dealers." Prakish raised an eye. "Cool name. I once had a cat called Death Dealer." Behind him, he turned Tolnik guffaw. The Arcstrider snarled and sent a crackle of arc energy rippling through his arm. Before he could strike, the Night Stalker blinked in front of him and put her hand on his chest. Whoa, cool it, Gene. He's not worth it. Remember your breathing exercises. The Arcstrider nodded. You're right. He's not worth it. He retreated, put his hands on his head, and walked in circles around the plaza, exhaling loudly. Prakish cleared his throat cautiously. So you want to make a bet, or... You're damn right we do, the gunslinger replied. We're betting on hunters to win the Guardian games. Hunters rule, shouted Gene from across the plaza. Is that all? Prakish asked with confusion. That's stock standard. Why didn't you just put in a chip like everyone else? The Night Stalker leaned in conspiratorially. Because of what we're wagering, she said, and opened her pack to reveal a single curling horn. Prakish's eyes went wide. Is that whose I think it is? The gunslinger crossed his arms smugly. You tell us. How did you even get this? Never question the death dealers. Now, what's it worth to you? The gunslinger said. Prakish shrugged. Hunters win gold, you get one legendary hand cannon each. If not, I get... He dropped his voice to a whisper. The horn. Throw in a couple Umbral Ingrams, the Night Stalker countered, and you got a deal. Prakish pretended to consider. It's a deal, he finally said, and recorded the transaction in his datapad. Good luck in the Guardian games, Hunters. Hunters rule, shouted Gene to nobody in particular. I think this is fantastic.
Yeah.
That finally answers the question of Shaxx's horn.
I get the horn. That's awesome.
Yeah, I absolutely love it.
That's just going to be the thumbnail for the episode this week, by the way. It's just Shaxx's horn.
Oh my god, dude. I would absolutely love to just get the backstory on it one day. Like, if there is a backstory, I'm not really aware of it. I'm trying to think back if I can remember anything.
Because I don't know. It's always been gone, right? Like, it's been gone for...
Yeah, so the only time that we've ever seen him with both horns is in the trailers leading into Destiny 2 when he's with Zavala.
Right,
building a tower. We see him with both help.
Yeah, but that's like pre-Destiny 1 stuff still.
The only other things that we know is... Right, the only other things that we know are that Ikora did whoop him in the Crucible once.
Yeah.
If I was a betting man, I would say it broke off during Six Fronts or during Twilight Gap, and he used it to melee an enemy with.
Yeah.
But I'm still very curious as to how they found it. Like, this feels like something that's going to get explored later on. First, for the record, I have not read the other two pieces. I have not read the Titan Mark or the Warlock Bond yet. So it's we may still get the story, but I thought this was really amusing, and it was kind of a nice bookend from the unexpectedly emotional Sparrow reading that we just got.
Right.
Where I didn't expect to really, I don't know, feel anything.
Yeah.
This was really nice. And it's kind of goofy. Like, I expect the other two will be funny as well.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens. Like, this is what I want to see in these types of events. Is like, give me some lore that, like, it builds the universe. Like, there's Guardian bookies.
Yeah. Right.
He's a bookie that used to be a Guardian. Like, he's just like lounging on his Sparrow. Like, this is hilarious to me.
Right.
But what's better is we're airing Cabal Deathmatches on television.
That's hilarious.
Are we like filming the battlegrounds or something?
Yeah, right. I like to think that Shaxx is like Zavala's super serious and Saladin is super serious, but like in a really commanding like leadership way, whereas Shaxx is like super serious in like the most comical way ever.
I mean, my other thing is, did he break off the horn and give it to Marasov? Did Hunter steal from Marasov?
Maybe. I don't know.
know. This is fun though. This is the kind of stuff I like to close out seasons on. Is stuff that's really lighthearted and funny because next season is probably going to start the climb to the Witch Queen.
Yeah.
If it's the pattern of Worthy or of Joker's Wild. So I'm a little not apprehensive. I think apprehensive is the wrong word to use here, but by the end of the season, things are going to be getting dark again, especially for that season leading into the Witch Queen. This may be one of the last like lighthearted things that we get for a while in this story.
Yeah.
So a Guardian bookie, I think, is a great way to go. I do know the other two reference him, so I'm very excited to see what happens. I can only hope that maybe Osiris and Saladin or Saint make some guest appearances.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that does it.
Yeah, it's that was a good almost 90-minute show. It was awesome. Josh, thank you for joining me tonight.
Didn't feel like it. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being back.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. Good to get my dip my toes in again, as they say. So I want to thank everybody for listening and or watching this episode of Tower Casuals. Remember to like, subscribe, share, rate, and review wherever you consume the show. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's on Spotify. Join our Discord. Email us questions at towercasuals@gmail.com or tweet at us at towercasuals. We'd really appreciate it. Josh, where can we find you?
Twitter and Twitch at Josh_Finn with 2 N's. As always, I'm on Twitch a lot less these days because I'm very busy, but I'm hoping to get back to streaming sometime soon.
Yes. You can find me at IamCoreyHT on Twitter. That's about it right now. That's about it. In here on Tower Casuals, hosting Tower Casuals. It's been real fun. Again, Josh, thanks for joining me tonight. Thank you guys all for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. And until next week, we love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye now.